I am minhaj, Jeenah, and you listening to Voices of the City, a project of Broad Street Radio.
I think when you start anything, you don't think as far as, I like this. You know, it makes me feel good. And then there will come a point where it will make decisions for you. And that's when you realize that I thought I chose this, but it actually chose me. Mm. You know, and that's when you start to understand that you are now serving a calling, and it requires 1, 2, and 3.
You are listening to Voices of the City, hosted by minhaj, Jeenah, and produced by Volume. The 6-part series will explore race, history, and resistance through hip-hop culture in Cape Town from the late 1980s until today. In this episode, we are in Gugulethu with Mabi, Redondo, and Dla from the crew known as Driemanskap. In the early 2000s, hip-hop established itself as a meaningful movement. It gave people pushed to the margins of South Africa a platform to disrupt narrow narratives about their communities. At the same time, a distinctive genre called Kwaito emerged from the streets of Soweto, and its deep bass lines and melodic verses could be heard across Johannesburg, vocalizing the experience of black township living. In Gugulethu, Cape Town, 4 ambitious storytellers, Dla, El Nino, Redondo, and Mabi, were determined to share the lived experiences of their community. They emerged from community art movements in Gugs and borrowed from the movements of Kwaito and hip-hop. They revolutionized the culture by pioneering the Spaza movement. Through Spaza, no one could ignore the lived experiences, struggles, and defiance of the people they represented. They called themselves Driemanskap. Mabi, Redondo, and Dla, welcome to Voices of the City.
I know, like right about now, we are, we are in Gugulethu, in the busted drain pipes of Gugulethu, NY22, number 32, to be specific. The establishment is called Lumkile's Book Joint. It's basically a house, a normal residential house that has got a garage turned into a somewhat of a resource center, but we refer to it as a hub, because it's a hub of knowledge where artists of all kinds, whether you are a graphic designer, performing artist, or fine arts, whatever, people come here to plug and recharge, It's by coincidence that there's books, because like knowledge is, is in books, So this is a place where us as Driemanskap, we have identified it as our home. This is our sacred space. If you don't find Driemanskap in studio or roaming in the streets, you will find us here. The moment we step a foot inside that door, we just zone. We just zone out and become submerged into the space, because this space has got an energy of its own. You can't get here and leave this place not feeling recharged and energized.
And Redondo, you guys didn't grow up far from here.
No, we stay very close. For instance, we all walk to come here. Mabi stays at NY7. I said NY12. Like from Mabi's house to my house, it's about 2 minutes. It's a 2-minute walk. This is all Gugulethu. Yeah, we walk to here any time of the day when you feel like you wanna come. It's not just even a matter of the crew. Sometimes even individually you can just come and pop in by Pralu, visit him, share some knowledge, because the owner of the space is also a very wise and informed, and informed guy, very informed. So we share those energies, So this is our good.
There's something about energies, right? Is one thing you cannot fake. Energy is energy. You cannot fake it. You can fake a lot of things, but not energy. So our energy is always aligned with Pralu. He's our hotman that we go to. for advice sometimes about things, because I mean he's older than us, you know, so his experience about this life thing is it's a lot.
Mabi, tell us about the energy of Gugulethu.
Ooh, that question is deep.
It's a good question.
Yeah, it is. The energy of Googs. Dang. I mean, there's a lot of good and bad that happens here. You know, but there's one thing, Googs has a cool energy about it, you know, and it's always been like that for the longest time. There's vibe about Googs, and even other Gassis like Googs, you know, other townships, they turn to more for thinking with the coolest, you know, and I don't know where that comes from, but it's just that, and also like there's a lot that happened here, man, from back in the days, you know. I think the first black hood to host hip hop multiracial events was Googs.
Is that the Zulaba?
No, not the Zulaba.
Yeah. Zulaba is...
Zulaba is before, there was lounge before Zulu. Okay. Zulaba was lounge before. Right? So, but it was around that time, the Zula time. So we would host this other dude that we used to be close with. His name is Madolo. He had sound, right? And then we would connect the sound at the sports complex. It's not far from here. It's like literally a minute away from here. We would plug the sound there, connect it, and then everyone from all over Cape Town would come and gather here in Googs. Yeah, outside of obviously the negative stuff. I mean, we're in the hood, so negative shit happens in the hood. You know,
like, you know, to like the energy of Googs, you know, like Googs has got if I'm really have to take it to back in the days, we still have the spirits of the Gugulethu 7.
Yeah, that too.
You know, which were the fallen heroes of the time of, you know, the apartheid regime, you know. So like Gugulethu has got that cloud also hanging over it, you know, that cloud of tragic things that has happened in the dirty streets of Gugulethu, you know, and people still mourn those things, you know. Yeah. We are that generation that is trying to kind of like bring that light, you know, that, you know, the place is not cursed, you know, it's a beautiful space to be in, and it can be what you make out of it to be. We as Driemanskap like to make Gugulethu a person. We refer to Gugulethu as a person, like Gugulethu is my brother. You know, we don't, yes, it's a place where we stay, but we refer to it as our brother. We take so much, we are patriotic about it. So Gugulethu is first, before anything else.
Even musical, you know, the songs or music or art that we make, a Gugulethu also has influence, you know, because sometimes we sit down and like, hey, I know the bad things that are happening, but if we were not, if it happened that we were not from Googs, you know, maybe we couldn't have that inspired, you know, because it's things that we grew up singing, Gugulethu, good and bad, you know. Sometimes we hear us going like, you know, some gangster tunes, and it's not that like we're condoning the violence and stuff. It's just the things that are happening, and we have to talk about them, you know.
If you really, really think long and hard about it, how many people in Googs get the opportunity to find themselves overseas? Do you get what I mean? You know, so when you get there, you should be proud of how far you really came. Like, I mean, I have my foot on the streets of Sweden, and I was born on the dusty streets of Googs. So it's something to be really proud of. So when you say you're from Googs, you're saying it with pride, knowing that not a lot of people will get this opportunity. And the fact that I got it, I'm going to be proud about it.
And there's a song, one of our biggest tunes that made us blow up. It's entitled Spume Googs, which loosely translates to "We are from Gugulethu."
Yo, D, turn my headphones out. This is another street banger from the street representer. Planet X, what's up? You know we riding this some raw cocky shit. Steven Young or let the girl blood flip. Bunnies and tennis, man. Let's show them why we mad. Let's cruise. You are the scoops, gun shy, stood for the quitty that's in my troops. Careless is this shoot, a stick of 50 bars, show up. As soon as fucking good to put any glass. We clock, move the carry, who to want to criminalize. Let us pay fire, they need you split for West.
It made it big. I think it's one of the songs that really made
that
South Africa pay
got
attention.
It got us national recognition.
So
and it's not even a radio song.
We're embracing where we're from, Gugulethu.
And the people felt the energy when you watch that video. And we never realized when we were doing the video and we're shooting, this is the kind of impact and the reception that the video is gonna get. And after that, we saw like when it was played on live. And then the week after, I remember it was still Bonang, the host. And guys, we have to see this video again by Driemanskap. It's by popular demand because people were going haywire asking for the video.
Last speaks a bit about the history of Gugs. And it seems like the streets of Gugs, it's not just about community, it's not just about the art, but it's also about resistance. And I think across the country, Gugs has inspired resistance. Do you feel like the resistance of Gugs has also inspired the three of you?
Definitely. I mean, it's been over 20 years, bro. And to this day, we've never I wouldn't say Driemanskap blew up and made it big as, for example, as big as your AKAs and your other artists like in South Africa. But we made an impact. You know, what I like about this is we are very impactful. And I think it's what we carry with us, you know, that we are very resistant and we are very resilient as well. You know, we did this knowing that it will require a lot of resilience. And we kept it like that and we never changed. When I'm saying we never changed, I don't mean like we are against change, positive change or growth. No, that's not what I mean. I'm just talking about how we carry ourselves and how we continue moving forward, you know. I think if I grew up soft in a very soft kind of neighborhood, I think I would have quit a long time ago. We've had so many up and downs, you know, so I think our upbringing has a lot to do with that.
Let's talk about these three young, ambitious storytellers that met at Fezeka Secondary School. Did they ever imagine that they would become the voice of the streets of Gugulethu?
I think a couple of years later, after the forming of the crew, we knew that we have been called and this is what we are called for. And since then, we just didn't stop. You know, we delivered according to what we are called for.
And also there is a say that says many are called and few are chosen. You know? Sometimes also on this road, we started with many good artists, a lot of good artists. But when we find out today, they let it go. You know, maybe it's patience. Maybe this art thing takes a lot of time, and it's when it comes to money, it's paid hard, you know. Some people, they just retreated and we're still here. As Mapi said, we have a lot of ups and downs. If we could open up and tell you our stories, he said, no, man, I would have quitted this long time, but we're still here, you know. We're still marching, we're still on this road, and we strongly believe that it would happen. Another thing that also keep us ongoing is it's the impact that we make to people, you know. We got people today who are graduates, you know, who tell us, writing us messages on socials, you know, guys, you know what, Krotmans, I grew up listening to your music, you know, I was in varsity at that time, you know, I was going through a lot of stuff, things were hard for me, you know, I was thinking of quitting this thing and dropping out, but when I listened to your song, I would make it. When I listened to Better Tomorrow, that kept me going, that really inspired me. Today I'm a civil engineering, today I'm this, you know.
When I'm dead deep in my sleep,
Songa slalenda when you were black people are reach. Pale as your east because it cracks killing my peeps. White, black, colored peeps, let's keep it like this. Bambale sinatonga linge color your skin. Say mama your peace. Stibane say hug and kiss. For father and the priest. Napu mama is loving the kid. The whole world is celebrating cause the hunger is killed.
And those things they really uplift us and they keep us going, you know. Because I mean sometimes the impact it's priceless, you know.
And these messages that Redondo is talking about, it's not like it's messages that you would receive once in a blue moon or once in
consistent, bruh.
Like the most recent one was I received it yesterday. This guy sent me a text and he says on his way to work he's playing Better Tomorrow, and on his way back from work he's playing Amako. On his way to work, he's wishing and hoping for a better tomorrow that he makes it, because that song is an encouraging song, you know. And on his way back, like Kamak says, giving thanks for the day and giving thanks for the job he has, giving thanks for whatever. I don't know what it means to him, but he was just like trying to express to me that, yo, bro, like keep going.
And it must always, like, the reason it's important to be sober-minded as for those reasons. Like, it's for you to be able to decode messages, because sometimes those will miss you, you know. Those will miss you. When I'm saying being sober-minded, it's not a jab to anyone who does drugs or whatsoever. Some people get these things drunk or high or whatever. All I'm saying is that you need to keep your mind healthy, fed, and focused.
Redondo. Gugulethu is also the birthplace of a genre of music no one had ever heard before. Spaza rap. What is Spaza rap?
Hey, that and like that's arguable, but you know, I don't know catch the champs again. That's very arguable. But you would hear a guy from EC, he would tell you maybe from Port Elizabeth, no, we are the ones who started this and so forth. But as we had a conversation earlier, you know, sometimes the word pioneer might not refer to the one who began something, but it might refer to the one who took it to the next level, you know. Yeah, I mean, in Gugulethu, there was Unique and Driemanskap that like, and that was, when was it? Driemanskap was formed 2001, and Unique, I think it was just before us. Yeah, and then there was a guy called Sketch Ulamile. Where was Ulamile from? Kailisha was yeah, and also there is Retex from Kailisha as well, you know.
Retex started before.
Yeah, started before us, you know. And then before us, there were other guys, but they were not calling it Spaza. They were Ringans and other stuff, you know. There was Def Macho as well, the older guys, like from the generation of your radios, you know, POCs, you know. The one of their members, lead member stays we stay in the same street with Tamongs that was called Def Macho. They were also rapping in Spaza, but it was not called Spaza at the time. But the Spaza came here with the generation of Spaza. Black Chiflo, but they called it Ringans. You know, we had DAT as a member, which is also doing it today. But Driemanskap and Unique, yes, those are the crews that they took Spaza. You know, eventually we were welcomed and we represented ever since. And like I would take that proudly that we are the pioneers of the Spaza. You know, as well as much as they were other artists before us and so forth.
And saying that you're a pioneer does not necessarily mean that everybody else is not. You must also remember that. You know?
Sure.
It does not take anything away from anyone else who's claiming to be anything else. Like, we can all be pioneers and coexist, you know.
Mabi, you referred to Spaza as a movement, and movements always have purpose.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of Spaza?
I think Spaza was mainly to just take it home, you know, and give South African hip hop identity, you know. Because if you listen to Spaza, actually our Spaza, the only difference there is the language. Because it is hip hop, straight up. You know, it is hip hop, but there's just a thing that makes you wanna, instead of picking up that CD, maybe like whoever raps in English, and then you want that because there's something different about that, because there's something South African about it. You know, not saying there's anything wrong with someone who raps in English, you know, because I do, you know, and I love both. And I love the fact that I can do both, because not everyone can, you know. So yeah, I think it was that it made it accessible to just local people, like just an average person who's not even into hip hop. You know, that's what I mean by taking it home. We converted a lot of non-hip hop listeners to like other like sounds, you know. So I think we did that very well, and we made it cool. That's another thing. We made it cool to rap in isiXhosa and mix it with a bit of this and that. We made it cool. Even today now, like in South Africa, they demand now like vernac in your music. Otherwise, you know, and I think incorporating our languages in making songs, that did the trick, and we won a lot of people over. And another nice part about it here in South Africa is that we have more than 11 official languages now, so we can like throw in a lot of those into, you know. And it all starting with one language and mastering that, and then as it progressed to now doing it in Setswana, Xhosa, and whatever, in all, you know, and have a song with all those languages, which is like the coolest thing ever. You know, it's rich because you're not gonna find it anywhere else.
And another thing, just to add on to that, you know, language is just one aspect of it. You know, you got to have substance. You know, so the songs that we had, we're not just putting Xhosa words that sound similar or rhyme together just for the sake of, you know, getting to the fourth bar. Because Xhosa is not an easy language, you know, and not just,
and also being technical.
You know,
I think the technical side of it was what like got them blown away. You know, because you can rhyme, you know, using the last word. No, the last word. But we chose to be technical about it, because also like the kind of hip hop that influenced us was like rappers were very technical. You know, it's crazy because we were never inspired by Xhosa rappers. You know, we drew our inspiration from American hip hop, but we did it in Xhosa.
And even some Xhosa speaking people, they would tell us, you guys will make Xhosa sound cool.
Yeah, it's in the heart.
It's like you make, there are many Xhosa rappers, but when it comes to us, I'm not blowing our own on, but it's just that what we're getting from people. Guys, you really doing this, you make it sound cool, you know.
I want to explore more about the origins of Spaza. It seems like Spaza is not just lyrics. It's also a culture. It's a form of expression for people living on the streets of Gugs, for example. And it started late 90s, early 2000s. At a time, it seems like hip-hop in Cape Town in particular was blowing up, especially on the Cape Flats. Also at a time when Kwaito was blowing up in Soweto and in parts of Joburg. Do you think that the popularization of these two genres influenced the emergence of Spaza?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you look at your Zola, if you remember Zola 7, you could tell that he had a hip-hop influence, but it was doing Kwaito. He didn't even want to say that it's hip-hop, you know, it was straight up Kwaito. But you could tell that this guy has a hip-hop influence. And also that hip-hop brought a lot of lyricism in Kwaito. That's when your TKZ came to play. You can also tell that TKZ is also influenced by hip-hop. But people who didn't know anything about hip-hop couldn't pick that up. But as a hip-hop person, you can tell. Because, for example, Zwei, who is the producer of TKZ, sampled a lot from hip-hop beats. He was smart about it because no one, like the general public, didn't know that, right? So he could still make a hit off a hit. Like, there's an existing heat, and then we could spin that and make a South African heat of it.
Repackage it.
You know? So, yeah, I think it is those two emerging. That's what birthed vernacular raps. Because there's not too much repetition.
Yeah.
Because Kwaito is known for having like repetition. But when they came into the scene, they brought like lyricism. You know, they started like rapping on Kwaito beats. I think what Pro brought to the scene is what we were doing, but we didn't have the opportunity. He got the opportunity to do it first. I mean, to put it out there first, because everything that we were doing in Xhosa, Pro was doing it in Zulu, and also mixing it in English. That he had that advantage as well. He could just flip, and he did it both well. Like the beat selection, the flow, the punchlines, the flair, you know, because it was also cool about it. Everything. When he brought that into the scene, it was new for everyone, and no one could stop that fire, you know.
Let's speak a bit more about Cape Town, the birthplace of hip-hop in this country. It started in community art movements, especially in the Cape Flats, and then popularized by cats like Prophet of the City, Godessa, Black Noise, and others, and then sort of died out for a while. These artists in the late 80s, early 90s had politically charged lyrics, spoke truth to power, also spoke about their lived experience, living where they used to live in Cape Town. Driemanskap came many years later and seemed to have revived that culture of hip-hop. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, we do. We do. Like, our first big song was a political song. You cannot shy away from that reality. Our first big song that made it big via Bluetooth. You know, the internet was not as popular as now. I mean, that was back in 2004 when that track got big. It's titled Icho Indo.
Like all clubs off.
Is as political as it gets.
Icho asiboni chicho kwatsi mislitwa zinditazo politiko icho into ngubano niciko besicela ukuza ngubano wabula lubiko. Basically it's like icho into
it is what it is.
It is what it is. We are being misled by the political leaders, and also who killed Stephen Biko, you know. And it's not based only on it goes to apartheid regime, and it also goes to the current government, you know, head of the state, which is the song was composed in 2003, you know, after the elections, you know. So it poses questions to both sides, you know. So we not buying faces, and these are the truth that we are saying there. And everyone, I think that's the song, like made people to draw attention on us, you know. We were young at the time. We cannot even tell you what really inspired us. Even if you listen to the verses, that song it's even relevant today.
So you ask your question is, do we still feel the same way? You know, like Redondo just said, we're young at that time. We're young. We don't even know like what inspired. Okay, maybe we might know what inspired, but we don't know what got over us. You know. So yeah, we felt how we felt. But now, till this day, we feel how we feel now. Even like on the album called Apukili Nyongo, there's a track there called Anti-Xenophobia.
Ayaphela ma-Afrika, ayaphela ma-Afrika, ayaphela ma-Afrika, ayaphela ma-Afrika. Mawusenzeni, hey yo, kuthiwa Afrika, bafika, sajika, kwafiwa, Africa for Africans, Africa, kuyaliwa, is ugly and amachita, siphathe izixhobo, siqhawula ubuhlobo, yingane kumkhonto
I mean, it goes back to the context. You will remember in 2008, 2009, there was that xenophobic attacks happening, you know. So we are the kind of like artists that we are commentators of what happens in the society, because we pride ourselves as community development practitioners, but we use music as a vehicle to channel what needs to be conveyed. So if we have to speak about politics and to address an issue, we are not going to be like we don't have favor. We are just like gonna be blunt if we have to be blunt. We are not gonna cut corners. we are not subscribed to no political affiliations, and we don't buy face. We are for the people, by the people, and with the people.
Do you think that, or was Driemanskap in any way influenced by the likes of prophets of Brasafandikap, Kodesa, and other Cape Town artists?
Definitely, man.
The struggle was one. The struggle was the same.
The same. I mean, Cape Town hip hop is a conscious. It's very conscious.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of it. It's just straight up revolution, you know. And unfortunately, revolution will never be televised.
Yeah.
You know, that's the tricky part about it. And we can't help ourselves, as God said, like we don't, when we have to, you know, to tackle the matter, we just go straight. We don't have to, especially musical, you know, artistically, we don't have to go around and, you know, we just say this is A is A, B is B, you know.
And also, but we don't shy away from being creative, because we are creatives, you know.
Exactly.
We don't box our content, you know, as much as people know us for, you know, attacking social ills, but we do have fun with the pen. I mean, because we can. We just cannot make that the only focus.
But do you think that when people talk about the history of hip-hop in Cape Town, hip-hop cats from Ikasi are overlooked?
To an extent.
It depends which era that person is speaking about, you know what I mean? Because like there's different generations.
But I hear what you're saying. I think it's just not enough that if you want to come to Cape Town and conduct interviews, we'll probably be the only hip-hop group that you're going to interview. It happens a lot, you know? There's a lot of us, bro.
Exactly.
You know, there's a lot of us. And there's people before us. We were inspired by other people that never get a chance to sit down and have these, you know, and have these talks. So that's why I say, like, to an extent, I think to an extent they are overlooked. And I think something should be done about it, because Cape Town hip-hop history goes way deep. You know?
And they played the part.
You know, and they played a part. They played the part. It's just that most of people who played the part are not active anymore. Yeah. For you to interview someone, you need to look for them and find them.
But another thing on our be like, you must also remember, you know, in all these talks and all these conversations about the history of hip hop, it's not only the artists that like played the part in making Cape Town hip hop. You know, there's DJs, there's producers, there's people who were hip-hop activists, you know, who were from the townships also. But it's just unfortunate that they did not have a mic on their hand for them to be heard, seen, and be recognized by the massive, for them to know about. There's people like, there's photographers, you know, Tando Toto, you know, bloggers back then. They were not even like Facebook and Twitter back then. There were other modes like your Africa's Gateway, you know, which was the thing back then. So all those individuals were kind of like the stakeholders that made, like the label owners, even your Damien Stephans, your Deep Planet. So those are the kind of like stakeholders that you love to also incorporate and bring them to the table and have that conversation with.
Mapi spoke about the lounge, Zulaba, the park jams that you say brought people from all over Cape Town together, forced people to cross these created spatial boundaries. It seems that doesn't exist anymore, and now there are stronger divisions. Redondo, why do you think that's the case?
By the time the years go by, and there was all in when there was all in noise, was it
2000?
Yeah,
2000.
Yeah, from 2010 then. Remember this form of art we are doing also, you know, people grow and like there should be ways of putting bread on the table. I think that should be one of the reasons, you know. Some people also, maybe they might have lost patience or they might have lost hope, you know. But the segregation has been big because, like, you know, if there was an event in Gugulethu, as Mapi said, you would see like white folks, you would see colors from different areas. You will all be paired here at Gugulethu Sports Complex. Even if there's an event in town, you know, Zula, you know, your lounge, your Orchard Bank, even in Orbs, your All Nations, you know. Armchair. But even ourselves, we hardly go to town, you know, in these days. Like, we didn't have life in the hood back then, you know. If it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we uptown strictly, you know, even if we don't perform, you know. So I don't know what. I think at times I'm not sure.
No, I think I've never had time. I'm sorry, Minhaj, I've never had time to think this question through. I'm just thinking about it as Redondo is like going back in the days. You see, hip hop was kind of like a sister of reggae.
Yeah.
Hip hop and reggae were kind of like married. You know, in a hip hop gig, you would find the reggae movement. Like they were kind of like the. So that unity, you know, was kind of like given birth to by the union of these two genres, reggae and hip hop, you know. But the hip hop of today, the new age hip hop, I don't see it being married to another genre that can kind of like walk the talk with it. It's influenced by the cyberspace, the internet. It's more like the buzz, the hype, the, you know, everything is more like internet. But back then, there was not that much internet involvement. Everything was like real, like tangible and like physical. There were CDs. If you go to a show, you had a backpack and you've got CDs in your backpack. You sell your CDs. Now I go to a show. Are you selling anything? Yeah, no. I'll give you a SoundCloud link, or I'll give you an iTunes or whatnot. You know. So I think the segregate, you know, internet and cyberspace has made the world small, but it has created a division in some way or the other of that human connection. So I think that played a role. Internet played a role in that sense, you know, as compared to that, like back in the days. I don't know. That's just my own observation now when I come to think of it.
Basically, the change of time.
The change time, you know,
because we had the revolution and now we have evolution.
It's evolution, bro.
And nothing is wrong. In revolution either in evolution, you know. It's just now we have evolved and we just need to adapt, basically, you know.
Redondo, let's bring it all together. Gonna ask each of you this question.
Sure.
Who is Driemanskap to you, Redondo?
Driemanskap is a movement. You know, it's a three-man crew that grew to be a movement whereby it's not just the three of us anymore. It's about the people. As Mapi said, like we are the voice of the people, by the people, for the people. We like the government, you know. We're not the government, but we're similar to that. And that's what we are doing. Even in the community, we're not just doing music as well. We go to detention centers, you know. We spread to convey the message of gospel through music, through workshops, through sports and other activities as well. We go to orphanage homes. We go to so we are just like a movement, not just like three MCs, you know. Yeah, Driemanskap is the movement. Is the empire. We're on our way to build this empire, you know, and we're almost there. Yeah.
Klar?
What is Driemanskap to that? Driemanskap to that is medicine. Medicine that heals the soul, medicine that heals the mind, and medicine that heals the nation, you know. And we use music as a vehicle to heal. That's what Driemanskap is to me.
Mapi?
Driemanskap is the pioneers of Spaza. Deal with it. Oh man, Driemanskap is me. Driemanskap is you. You know, because without you, there is no me. Yeah. So, yeah, that's Driemanskap.
Exodus, movement of the people.
Last question. Mapi spoke a lot about this already. What is the state of hip-hop in Cape Town right now?
It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. There is new kids on the block every day.
Give us names. Who are the new
The
kids?
likes of your Bravo, who is making it big in the scene right now. Laura, Pin Code, who is one of my favorites. Holy Alpha, the sisters in the game of the names like actually like back then it used to be just the guys, but now what is nice about it, there's girls like your K Kid, Dikowala, Holy Alpha, Enigma. Like it's nice. It's really nice.
It's colorful.
It's colorful, yeah. That's the best. That's the best description that you can ever put.
And I like the unity of these kids. Like they doing something we failed doing.
Yeah.
We should have come together a long time, but instead of that we were fighting. And I'm from Googs. I'm gonna represent Googs, and we were all Cape Town artists, So I think with these kids now, they just come together and they're just doing things, and I'm loving that, man. And I love the fact that they're not waiting for nobody. I think our generation we thought someone was gonna come and save us. These kids, they don't have that mentality. They go get it, and that's the mentality I fucks with, and they're doing big things, and shout out Youngster also, because Youngster is like leading the Cape Town movement, there's no doubt about that, doing big things. Representation, you must us Youngster knew how he was gonna represent Cape Town, and he's representing Cape Town the best way he knows how, and he doesn't sugarcoat it. And again, you just need to find a way to package your honesty, and Youngster did that very well. It worked, and it's still working, and it's still going to work because his lane is his lane. Yeah. I think what's happening in Cape Town now, I'm giving it, I think in the next 2 years max, Cape Town is going to be the go-to spot. Like they're gonna do. I see now they're gonna do Cotton Fest in Cape Town for the first time. I'm telling you, there's gonna be. There's also another. There's Back to the City. Back to the City been trying to come to Cape Town. Like Osmond has been like, yo, cats, who can I speak to if I wanna, because they can see that the wave now, the wave is Cape Town is gonna be the go-to place. It's almost there. It's almost there. It's almost there. Because the movement is stronger now.
It's long overdue, man. I mean, we've got the Table Mountain, we've got the Parliament. It's here.
Yeah,
it only makes sense.
So let's bring the mother city back.
Redondo, you said that Driemanskap is building an empire.
Yeah.
What's next for Driemanskap?
Music, content, visual, projects. We also, we're not looking to sign any artists because we're not ready for that, but we've been getting a lot of those, artists that they want to be under our wing, The only thing that we can do, as we always do, we can just mentor them, we can point them to the right direction, because at the end of the day, we want to keep the legacy going on, because at some time, we'll have to put the torch down, But you cannot just put the torch down. You have to give it to someone, So that's why we are trying to connect a lot, and we're working a lot with these youngins as well.
Yeah, expect a lot of collaborations with the young kids.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's why, especially when it comes to musical content. Like just be ready.
I know kids that are popping now
that are not even
20 years.
Yeah.
Kids that are like making that. They're not even 20 years. So we started rapping before they were even born.
Most of them.
But I think God always has a plan for his people, man. Like, because you can put us next to the kids or in the very same space. You won't say that those are not kids. We will fit in. God will keep you looking a certain way for a reason. That's why I'm gonna go back to, you must always keep a sober mind, so that you understand things different, So with that said, it's been 20 years and there's still a long way to go, because I can feel it's only now that I feel like I'm still getting started, So expect a lot, man. Expect a lot of surprises as well.
Mavi, Klar, Redondo, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. This has been Voices of the City, and I'm your host, Minhaj Jeenah. This episode was produced by Amina, Deka, Asma and Volume. Join us next week for another episode where another voice of the city will continue to take us on the journey of exploring race, history and resistance through hip-hop in Cape Town.
Volume.